Morning.
So let us start off. Om Sadashiva-Samarambham Shankaracharya-Madhyamam Asmadacharya-Paryamtam Vande Guru-Paramparam. Om Sahana-Vavatu Sahana
Bhunaktu
Sahaviryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastु Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So we will chant verse number 51. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha
Bhagavanuvacha
Karmajam Buddhiyukta hi
Karmajam buddhyuktahi
Phalam Tyaktva Manishinaha
Phalam tyaktva manishanaha
Janma Bandha Vinirmuktaha
Janma bandha vinirmuktaha
Padam Gacchantya Namayam.
Padam gacchantaya namayam.
So I'm just meeting you all. We will first look at the grammar as usual. Karmajam buddhi yukta hi phalam tyaktva manishanaha janma bandha vinirmuktaha padam gacchanti anamayam. So gacchanti anamayam is gacchanti anamayam. And the anvaya will be buddhi yukta hi manishanaha karmajam phalam tyaktva kama janma bandha vinirmuktaha anamayam padam gacchanti. So buddhi yukta hi. So here is equal to because tas yasmat. So yasmat buddhi yukta hi, because this person has this attitude, buddhi yuktaha, has the karma yoga attitude. Manishinaha, wise person. Then karma jam phalam. So jam is to be taken as born of. So phalam karma jam. The phalam, the results, karma jam, born out of action. What does this manishanaha do, this wise person do? Tyaktva. He discards it. And then because of that, janma bandha vinirmuktaha. So janma is birth, bandha is bondage. Janma bandha, bondage of birth, vinirmuktaha, he is freed from. And anamayam. So amayam is disease or affliction. Anamayam means free of disease. And what happens to him? Gacchanti padam. He goes to padam, the final goal. He reaches the goal of moksha. So you can reword the sentence also. Manishinaha buddhi yuktaha. This wise person, tyaktva karmajam phalam, having given up the results of action, he becomes janma bandha vinirmuktaha, free from the bondage of birth. And gacchanti padam, he reaches that particular goal, anamayam, which is free from any sort of trouble, any sort of evil. So a very interesting verse. Krishna here is talking about the various stages of karma yoga that a karma yogi has to go through. This verse can be thought of as sort of a summary. It's summarizing what all are the various, places, location, or the stages that a karma yogi will go through in a spiritual journey. So buddhi yuktaha. So buddhi here means the karma yogi's attitude, the bhavana. What is attitude? Ishvara Arpana and Ishvara Prasadam. That bhavana is meant by Buddhi Yukta. Literally, Buddhi Yukta means you are committed to discrimination, to the Buddhi, to the intellect. And therefore, it has to be understood as born out of right thinking, born out of Viveka, discrimination. So, because without the discrimination, a healthy attitude will not be there. And what is this Viveka? The Viveka is the discriminative faculty which I have. It has to be used to analyze life, and I have to arrive at the conclusion that spiritual growth is much more important than material growth. So this is the attitude of a karma yogi, which we discussed in the last class also. The karma yogi, because of analyzing life, has come to the realization, to the understanding, to the conclusion that for him, spiritual growth is more important than material growth. He doesn't discard material growth, but if there is a choice, he will prioritize spiritual growth only. So initially, it is common for everybody to value artha and kama more, which means what? Desires, pleasures, and money, all these things are valued more. And remember that Shastra does not look down upon them. In fact, the Karma Kanda of Shastra specifically gives a lot of rituals for the achievement of your desires and for getting wealth. So Artha Kama is an accepted goal in Shastram. But Shastram begins to say that after having satisfied or after having indulged in Artha Kama for some time, the wise person should begin to consider that moksha and dharma are more important than Artha Kama. So there has to be a balance of Artha Kama and Dharma Moksha. Artha Kama represents Vishaya Sukham, the pleasures born of objects and people. So external accomplishments are Artha Kama. Dharma Moksha represents Atma Sukham. So that happiness which comes from the Atma is Dharma Moksha. That happiness which comes from people and objects, that is Artha Kama. So we have just finished the Navratri festival, right? So there, for 3 days, out of the 9 days, for 3 days you worship Durga. What does Durga do? Durga is the goddess of health and wealth, Shakti. She is the goddess of health and wealth, health and strength. Then 3 days we worship Lakshmi, who is the goddess of wealth. So the first 3 days for health, the second 3 days for wealth, and the third 3 days is for what?
Saraswati, the wisdom.
Knowledge and wisdom.
So health and wealth and wisdom, balanced growth. That is what they are saying. Even that Navratri festival represents the same thing. Balanced growth is represented by the festival. So each of our festivals, if you look at, you will find a lot of unwritten wisdom over there. So this Karma Yogi has got Viveka. So what is Viveka? We saw in Tattva Bodha, Nitya, Anitya, Vastu, Viveka. The difference between eternal and non-eternal. And there are 2 other words for that. Nitya is called Shreyaha. Anitya is called
Shreya.
Nitya is Shreyaha. Anitya is
Shreya.
Shreyaha. So Shreyaha is what is good for you. Shreya is what is pleasant for you. So the Karma Yogi always has this understanding what is good and what is pleasant. Mostly people choose the pleasant over the good, right? But the Karma Yogi, because of this Buddhi Yukta status, because of Viveka status, he chooses always Shreyaha over Preyaha. So his attitude is that inner growth is more important than money or kama or dhanam. Pleasures, money, inner growth is more important. This is what is called Buddhi Yukta, the first stage. Then look at the verse. Then what does it say? It says, Karmajam phalam tyaktva. That is, Karmajam phalam tyaktva is the second one. Karmajam phalam means pleasures or fruits or consequences of karma. Whatever phalam, whatever material results are born out of karma is called Karmajam phalam. So tyaktva. He renounces them. So material results in all our life, in all the activities, it is one phalam. What is the other phalam of karmajam, which is karmajam? There are two phalams always of karma. So karmajam phalam has two parts. One is, of course, material results, the material pleasures, the material wealth, all those things. What is the other?
Adrishta.
Adrishta phalam.
Adrishta phalam. So punyam and papa. Right? Everybody understands what is adrishtam?
Yes.
Adrishtam means that which cannot be seen.
See.
And so material results you can see. So drishta phalam of karma is material results, whatever you are seeing. Adrishta phalam of karma is punyam and papa. Right? So material results are for this life. Punyam and papam give you a better body or a worse body or a better world or a worse world in the next life. And therefore he gives this up. Giving up the attachment to material results and to punyam and papam is called what?
Ishvara prasada bhava.
Vairagyam.
Vairagyam.
Vaira.
What is the definition of vairagyam?
Not attached to or not addicted
Nope,
to the
nope, nope.
pleasures of this
Swarga
life or the
bhogeshu
next world.
ichharahityam.
Give me
Iha.
the definition from Tattva-bodha.
Iha swarga bhogeshu
Iha.
Gives up the
Iha
desire
swarga
for
bhogeshu
heaven and
ichharahityam.
Iha swarga bhogeshu ichharahityam. What does it mean? What do each of the words mean?
Iha is from
Yes.
here,
Giving up
from this
desires
life.
for pleasure in this world and
Beyond.
the next birth.
See, this is why you should again and again revise Tattva-bodha. So you understand what exactly each word means. So what is it? Ichharahityam means the lack of desire.
Free from that.
Free from of what? Iha bhogeshu, pleasures of this world. Swarga bhogeshu, pleasures of the next world. Because while we say that Sanskrit is not the overall, objective of this study, it helps if you know, because the exact terminology you are able to figure out from these words. Even if you know Hindi, even if you don't know Sanskrit, I don't think it's a botheration. In Hindi itself, you are understanding. Ichha rahityam means what? Ichha nahi rehna. Iha bhoga means yaha ka bhog. Swarga bhoga means swarg ka bhog. It's pretty simple to understand. So if for those of you who do not have not studied Sanskrit, it should not be any sort of a hesitation. Don't keep saying that I don't know Sanskrit, so I won't be able to understand. If you know Hindi, it is more than sufficient. You can just mentally translate the word into it. There are very few Sanskrit words which are, so traditionally Sanskrit that Hindi words doesn't come easily. Most of them, Hindi words, you'll find the root there. So Tyaktva, for example, what is the Hindi word for Tyaktva?
Yeah.
Tyaga.
Giving.
See, they're all very, very closely connected. So what does he do? Tyaktva. He gives up. He means he is not very concerned with the iha bhogeshu, with the material benefits of his action. Now, you have to understand that properly. He is not overly concerned with the material benefits of action, but don't think that he rejects it. For him, it's a secondary phalam. The phalam can be there, the material benefit of his action can be there, but for the karma yogi, it is not the primary objective, it is the secondary objective. The secondary phalam will be called avantara phalam. Avantara phalam means secondary objective or secondary fruit. What is mukhya phalam? Primary benefit. So he has a primary benefit and he has a secondary benefit. His primary benefit is what? What is mukhya phalam of karma?
Spiritual growth.
spiritual growth.
Chitta shuddhi.
So I know that a lot of people are using English words, but I would like you to focus on the Sanskrit, or at least the translation of that Sanskrit. Spiritual growth is a nice word. What is actually translated to Chitta Shuddhi? Right? If you want to say it in English, what does it mean?
Purification of the mind.
Purification of the mind.
So learn to think in the terminology of Tattva-bodha for everything. Then you can never go wrong. As long as you try to substitute Tattva-bodha with your own words, The definitions are very important because it makes you a very clear idea in your mind what the scripture wants to say. So this is one common thing. Like this is one of those examples. Instead of saying in English only, supposing we are not using Sanskrit at all, we're using English. Instead of saying purity of mind, don't say spiritual growth. Spiritual growth is a delightfully vague term, right? Purification of mind is of course, to some extent, it is a focused word. And if you want to explain purification of mind further, how would you explain? What is Chitta Shuddhi if I ask you? What is purification of mind? What is the answer?
When you get less
Chitta
affected
Shuddhi.
by emotions
Sadhana Chatushtha.
and you recover fast from emotional distress.
Yes, which means what? What is
Yes.
what has been purified?
Vrittis of
The
raga and
thoughts, the
dvesha.
vritti, Dvesha.
Raga, Dvesha, right? All the negative emotions, Raga, Dvesha, Kama, Krodha, Lobha, all those negative emotions have been purified. So that, if you connect it in this manner, then when you say Chitta Shuddhi, clarity will be there. Don't let any term, be such that you don't go down when somebody asks you to, delve deeper into that term. You should not be hesitating. You should not flounder. Any term when asked, you should immediately know. Chitta Shuddhi, yes. Purification of mind. What is to be purified? Raga Dvesha. What is the effect of Raga Dvesha? Disturbances in the mind. That sort of understanding should be there. That is why I say Mananam is required. Mananam is not upon just what we are saying. Mananam is upon each and every word in the context in which it is used. So we'll come back to our topic. Primary benefit is what? He focuses upon Chitta Shuddhi. He focuses upon his spiritual growth. That is the second stage. Okay. What were the two stages so far?
Buddhi yukta and karma phala tyag.
Buddhi Yukta and Karma Phala Tyaga. That's two stages. The third stage, you look at the verse again. Manishina Bhutva. He becomes a wise person. Manishina is a word which means wise. It's not Manush, nothing to do with Manushya, okay? Manisha is wisdom, knowledge. So Manishinaha is the one person, the person who has knowledge. Bhutva means having become. So Manishina Bhutva. He becomes a Jnani. He has come to Jnana Yoga. He has studied, Shravanam has done, Mananam has been done. He has figured out the true goal of life, and there is growth in it. He has grown. Most of us, when we talk about growth, we talk about physical and mental growth. Few of us stop to consider that maximum spiritual growth will also be there. So this spiritual growth he has got. This Chitta Shuddhi he has got. And when after Chitta Shuddhi he comes to Jnanam, he learns from the Shastram. He learns about Jiva, Jagat and Ishvara. So the discovery of all my doubts, all my fundamental questions about Jiva, me, myself, Jagat, the universe, and Ishvara. What is the relationship between me and Ishvara? What is the relationship between Ishvara and the world? Is there a relationship between me and the world which is not going through Ishvara? These are the questions which all of us can ask ourselves when we do some Mananam. All these fundamental questions are answered by this spiritual study of his. So Shravanam and Mananam will give an answer to all these questions. And therefore a Karma Yogi has to grow not only physically and emotionally, but also spiritually or intellectually he has to grow. Right? And Shankaracharya has written a book called Manisha Panchakam. So we can do it sometimes. Small little book, 5 verses. Panchakam is 5. Manisha Panchakam means 5 verses. 5 verses on Jnanam. And that is why here he uses the word Manishina Bhutva. So Manishi means the one who has got Manisha. Manishi is a Jnani. And this Manisha is Atma Jnanam. So it's an Atma Jnani. Okay. Now you have to understand something very carefully. This Manishi cannot be a Karma Yogi. Why? Why can Manishi not be a Karma Yogi?
Because he has still only acquired Jnanam.
Because he is a wise
Jnani.
person, Dhyani.
No. Okay, that answer is okay because he's a jnani, but what does it mean? Why?
He's not concerned with the karma phalam
He's given up the
and
karma.
he's given
The
that
truth
stage.
one, he has transcended it.
Look at the objectives. What is the objective of the Manishi? What is the objective of the Karma Yogi?
Atmagyanam.
A Manishi is still
No.
focused, his objective
Manishi
is on the intellect,
wants moksha.
on the knowledge. A Karma Yogi is, his objective is
Moksha.
moksha.
Acharya ji, the Karma Yogi is going through the process of becoming a Manishi. Once he's become a Manishi, that process is over. So the renunciation part has been taken care of. The action part has been taken care of.
Excellent. So that is the answer. The Karma Yogi is Jnani or Ajnani?
Ajnani.
Ajnani. And therefore he is looking for Chitta Shuddhi. Why is he looking for Chitta Shuddhi? So he can come to Manisha. Manisha is Jnanam. Right? So Karma Yogi is Ajnani. He is looking for Chitta Shuddhi. His objective is Chitta Shuddhi. So that he can finally come to Jnanam. And the Manishi is one who has got Manisha. Therefore, he has fulfilled the objective of coming to Jnanam and got Jnanam. That is why he says Bhutva, having become. Bhutva means having become. And the having become has to be taken as both things. This Manishi, first having acquired Chitta Shuddhi, then done Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam, and then acquired Jnanam, and then become Manishi, a wise person. This is the third stage. So it shows that you have to first go to Karma Yoga, then you have to go to Jnana Yoga, then you have to do Shravanam. I mean, at that point you do Shravanam, and then you do Mananam, and then you arrive at stage number 4. Janma, Bandha, Vinirmuktaha, free of the bondage of birth. So as a result of this bondage, they are freed from samsara. So this Janma, Bandha, Vinirmuktaha was presented in chapter 1, or rather Janma, Bandha was presented in chapter 1 as what? As samsara. And this Bandha was presented as Raga, Shoka and Moha. Remember, we talked about samsara as a syndrome consisting of Raga, Shoka and Moha. This samsara is called Janma Bandham. So as a result of this knowledge, in stage number 4, Janma Bandha Vinirmuktaha. He is free from samsara. He is free from the bondage of Raga, Shoka and Moha. So we say Punarapi Jananam, Punarapi Maranam, Punarapi Janani Chatare Shayanam. Does anybody know where that sloka comes from?
Bhaja Govindam.
Ajagovind. Punarapi Jananam, again and again you are born. Punarapi Maranam, again and again you die. Punarapi Janani Jatare Shayanam. What does that mean?
Back into the womb of the mother.
Back into the womb of your mother you go. This Jnani is free from all that. In this very life, he doesn't have to wait for this body to die. He is a Jivan Muktaha. In the rest of his life is a picnic. Up to this stage, he has done sadhana. Once he is Jivan Muktaha, you get the benefit in this life itself. Your life itself is a picnic. And therefore, the next few verses, verse number 52 and 53, Krishna gives the line of demarcation between Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga. So very, very beautiful verses, summarizations of all that we have studied so far. So verse number 52 gives the Karma Yoga summary plus the Karma Yoga phalam. Verse number 53 gives the Jnana Yoga summary and Jnana Yoga phalam also. So these verses have to be understood very carefully and constantly remembered. Okay. So now we look at the 52nd verse, which we will chant. So please unmute yourself. Yada te moha kalilam.
Yada te moha kalilam
Buddhir tarishyati.
बुद्धिर्व्यतितरिष्यति
Tada gantasi nirvedam. Shrotavyasya shrutasya cha. So I have one request to make. If anybody has some talking going on in the house, you should immediately mute yourself, because not only does it disturb the class, because that voice comes across very clearly, but in the recording also it will be there. So it's a common courtesy. Said, if I'm not saying that you should not talk at all. Maybe situations are such that something may have to be said. Somebody is saying something. At that point, please switch off the mic. Okay. Now let us look at the grammar part of this. So yada te moha kalilam buddhi vyatitarishyati. Buddhi vyatitarishyati. Tada gantasi nirvedam shrotavyasya shrutasya cha. And if you have to say in Anvaya, it will be Yadate buddhihi moha kalilam vyatitarishyati, comma, tada shrutasya shrotavyasya cha nirvedam gantasi. So on the face of it, it's a very confusing verse. Yada, when, te buddhihi, your intellect. So this te, again and again I'm repeating, this te is not the same as the te of Hindi. This te means tumhara, your. Yada te buddhihi, your intellect. And the next two words are visheshanam to buddhi. Moha kalilam, adjective to buddhi. That intellect which is confused by delusion. Kalilam is confused, moha is delusion. So moha kalilam, confusion because of delusion. Yada, when that intellect of yours, which is confused because of delusion, vyatitarishyati, crosses over that confusion, gets over that confusion, tada. So yada and tada have to be connected. Yada, when your intellect, which is confused, crosses over, tada, then what will happen? Nirvedam gantasi, you will gain dispassion. Nirvedam is dispassion, gantasi is you will go to or you will gain. You will get dispassion, vairagyam, for what? Shrutasya, for what has been heard, and shrotavyasya, for what is yet to be heard. So this of course is basic Sanskrit. Shrutasya means that which has been heard. Shrotavyasya means that is which is yet to be heard or which will be heard in the future. Okay. Now, so Krishna is talking about what is the result of karma yoga. How will it take a karma yogi to jnana yoga, and how will that jnana yoga liberate a person? This is the discussion here. So yada is yasmin kale, at that time. Which time? After following karma yoga. So yada has a world of a meaning in it. So yada here means after having followed karma yoga, after having followed upasana yoga, after having got chitta shuddhi, after the impurities of the mind have been removed by the following of karma yoga and upasana yoga. That is the meaning of yada. When I have done all this, what will I understand? I will understand that the real goal of life, the only worthwhile destination of life, only worthwhile goal for which I should be working is moksha. And therefore he says, buddhihi moha kalilam vyatitarishyati. The intellect will cross over the confusion. So moha kalilam, impurities in the form of moha, confusion in the form of delusion. What does an impurity do? What is the result of the confusion because of delusion? It affects, it contaminates my discriminative faculty. That viveka buddhi of mine, it contaminates. And when viveka buddhi is contaminated, as you will recall from Tattva Bodha, the distinction between Nitya and Anitya Vastu is not there. And because it is not there, I do not think about Nitya Vastus. I think only about Anitya Vastus. And Anitya Vastus, what is the thinking? That the more Vastu I have, the more happiness I will get. And therefore, because of this Moha Kalilam, what happens is finally that I lose sight of Nitya Vastu. I focus on Anitya Vastu. And because I want to acquire more Anitya Vastu, I keep getting engaged in karma. I keep doing more and more karma. And because of this moha, the mind is active in every field of life. Of course, apart from Vedanta. When this is crossed over, when this confusion is crossed over, what will happen? My intellect will become able to see or able to understand the real priority of life. Because before that, like most people, I didn't even know what moksha was. Moksha is a very vague concept for me. Only once this karma yoga thing has fructified in my life, once I have done karma yoga, once I have done upasana yoga, I have understood that worldly material things are okay, but there is something which is more important. So again, I will say I am not rejecting material objectives, but I am shifting the priority to number 2. My priority number 1 becomes moksha. And now that moksha has become a clear concept, then I will focus on moksha only. Otherwise, what is the thinking of Ajnani? That moksha is only for sannyasis. And what is a sannyasi? A sannyasi is a person who has not got a job at all. He is an unsuccessful person. He has failed in his examinations. He is so spectacular failure in even marriage. And therefore, he has turned his life up, turned his back upon all these things because he has been unsuccessful. Generally, people think that sannyasi is a person who is not able to do anything else in life. And that is why he has taken to sannyasa. And this is moha kalilam, buddhi's confusion, not knowing what is moksha. Once you understand that moksha is inner maturity, then buddhi moha kalilam very tarishyati. Krishna says that buddhi will cross over the confusions regarding the priorities of my life, confusions regarding the value of moksha in my life. And that confusion is between what and what? Artha kama and dharma moksha. So aviveka, this non-discriminative intellect or confusion regarding this matter is called moha. Mental confusion alone is called kalilam. Okay, so there is a fine distinction between drawn between kalilam and moha. Kalilam is just mental confusion. It can be anything. And kalilam literally means dirt, impurities. But this impurity regarding the place of artha kama and dharma moksha in my life, which is the ultimate goal of life. Is it artha kama or is it dharma moksha? That confusion arising because of kalilam is called moha kalilam. So this confusion is not understanding that in terms of the first chapter, the confusion is not understanding that the problem of my sorrow, of all my inadequacies, the problem has got its locus in me. This is a very important statement, that moha kalilam is not understanding that all my problems are basically based in me only, in I. And not understanding that makes me look outside for a solution. Until I understand that every problem can be solved finally only by looking at my own self. Until I understand that, I am subject to this moha kalilam. And therefore, I keep looking outside for a solution. So Vedanta says that is a major mistake you are making. The focus needs to be inside you, not outside you. So when I see clearly that after karma, a lot of karma yoga, when I see clearly that external pursuits, artha kama, do not provide any final solution, then only will I look inwards. I have to first get fed up of doing karma. And of course, that being fed up will only happen if you analyze also at the same time. Maybe you won't analyze in the first 10 years. You'll be busy in Artha Kama. But sooner or later, you will realize, right? Artha Kama also requires the cooperation of your body. And nature itself will ensure that as you grow older, the capacity of your body to enjoy physical pleasures become less. If you wait till you're 70 years old, the body will automatically tell you that. You will simply not be able to function. But if you're an intelligent person, even at the age of 35, you can visualize what will happen in future. So you will know that, okay, now I'm able to enjoy, but maybe 25 years down the line, I won't be able to. And therefore, you know, it's not a final solution. Artha Kama is never a final solution. Therefore, you look inwards. And when you look inwards, what happens? You look to Shastram. And because Shastram needs a teacher, you look to the teacher. When, therefore, after having done Karma Yoga and Upasana Yoga and getting Chitta Shuddhi, you start to look inwards. You are looking towards Jnana Yoga. Therefore, it says Tada. Then what will happen? And as I said, this Tada has to be connected to Yada. Yada means when all this dispassion has come. Therefore, Tada Nirvedam Gantasi. So Gantasi means Prapsyasi. He gets. Nirvedam is Vairagyam. He gets Vairagyam. And when this Vairagyam comes, when this constant conflict between Artha Kama and Dharma Moksha goes away, then Nitya, Anitya, Vastu, Vivekaha comes, which we call Vairagyam, Viragaha in Tattva-bodha. So, Veda talks about material goals. You know, if you want to know how the word Nirveda is defined, Veda talks about material goals. What is Nirveda? Not those material goals. Don't say what Veda doesn't talk about. Veda talks about Jnanam also, non-material goals also. But the Karma Kanda talks about material goals, and therefore Nirveda means not Karma Kanda, not material goals. So Gantas Nirvedam, he gets that dispassion towards what? Shrotavyasya, Shrutasya cha. Shrutasya, what has been heard. Shrotavyasya, what is yet to be heard. So what has been heard, I already know what Vedas talk about, all the Karmakana rituals. And something is there which I don't know yet, that Vedas talk about, which is about external dependencies. All these are mentioned in the ritualistic portion of the Vedas. So essentially, he is saying Shrutavasya and Shrutasya both mean the entire content of the Karmakanda, of the Purva Veda. All the ritualistic portion of the Vedas, he gets dispassion towards. Okay. Now, one more very important point here is that dispassion is different from indifference. Right? So, it is not that you become indifferent to people. You continue to help others. Only you no longer need to seek help from them. It's a one-way traffic now. You help others, but you don't look for any help in return. So this Shrutavasya Shrutasya means, in short, towards all known external dependencies, with this Shrutasya. Shrutasya means all the external works, dependencies, which I am aware of because of Karma Kanda, and also unknown external dependencies, which may be something which Veda has not talked about. So I have yet to hear about it. Towards all these, he develops dispassion, which means what? He doesn't want to be dependent anymore, and therefore he becomes independent. How does this come about? Because of the absence of delusion, moha. To put it in short, the Karma Yogi, the sadhaka, has realized that his problems are not located in the anatma, in the external world. The external world is not the problem. What is the problem?
It's within him.
Avidya.
Problem is his
Radhikesha.
incompleteness, sense of incompleteness, which is causing.
To understand the locus is within you.
Okay, so what he realizes is that The external world is not a problem. The problem is because of his dependence on the external world. See, Anatma is never a problem. Anatma is Ishvara Srishti. But when you depend on the Anatma for your happiness, that is the problem. It's very important to understand. The world is never a problem. When I start to depend on the world for my happiness and for my security, the problem is not with the world. The problem is with me because of my dependence. So remember, we are talking about what sadhana level are we talking about? This vairagyam is because of viveka at sadhana level. Okay. This vairagyam is not born of jnana. So that you have to understand this. This is the sadhana chatushta sampanna part. A sadhana chatushta sampanna is not a jnani. What is the name given for a person who's sadhana chatushta sampanna?
Adhikari.
Adhikari. He is the one who is ready for jnanam. He is the one who is ready for jnanam, and that you should be careful about. Here we are not talking about the jnani at all. We are talking about the person who has prepared himself. He is sadhaka coming to jnana. So this vairagyam here is born not out of jnanam. It is born out of sadhana only. Viveka. Viveka born sadhana. The discriminative faculty born vairagya. This is the first stage. This is what verse number 51 talks about. We have enough time for the second one also. So we will just chant the second verse, 53rd verse. So please unmute yourself. Shruti vipratipannate yada sthasyati nischala samadhavachala buddhi kada yogama vapsyasi. Okay. So now, Shruti vipratipannate yada sthasyati nischala samadhau. So samadhavachala has to be broken into samadhau plus achala. Samadhau achala buddhihi tada yogam avapsyati. So yogam avapsyati is yogam with the halant below the ma plus avapsyati. And the anvaya will be yada shruti vipratipannate buddhihi nischala sthasyati samadhau achala tada yogam avapsyasi. So yada te buddhihi, when your mind sthasyati is no longer distracted, Shruti Vipratipanna by the Vedas. So I'll explain. Shruti Vipratipanna is not distracted. Nischala, it will remain steady. Achala, it will be firmly established. Samadhau. So Samadhau here is to be taken as the Atma. Okay. And Tada, when this happens, Yogam Avapsyasi, you will gain knowledge. Avapsyasi means you will get back to or you will gain. And Yogam here is knowledge. So in English, when your intellect, which is now confused by listening to various karma and karma phalam, which are given in the Vedas, begins to abide in the Atma without doubt, then you will attain jnana. This is the second portion. So when a person gets more and more interested in in self-dependence, like what happens to him? His confidence grows, right? It's like in the village you are living and there is a common water tap in the village and everybody goes and lines up over there for the water. So there is an uncertainty. Will there be water? How long will I have to line up? All those things are there. But I dig my own well. So I get rid of that dependency on the water tap. And I can have my own well. And I'll get my own water. Not only that, if I have my own water, I can also start sharing it. Right? I don't need to ask for water from anybody. I can share my own water also. Similarly, so today we spend our life asking everybody, asking for affection from everybody. So this Ajnani will go and ask everybody, do you love me? Do you love me? Do you love me? And if your wife doesn't tell him 3 times daily that I love you, then he's upset. Okay, his wife may or may not love him, but at least if she doesn't tell him at least 3 times, then he's upset. And therefore this Ajnani, all the time he is seeking affection. He has a doubt whether the people who love him also really love him or not. So whether his mother loves him, whether his sister loves him, whether his father loves him, whether his children love him, all these doubts he has constantly. So he goes to everybody with that begging bowl. Give me love, give me love, give me security. This is the Ajnani status. And Krishna is saying after Jnanam, what is the attitude? This same person, he does not ask anybody anymore, do you love me? On the other hand, what will he say? He say, I unconditionally love you in spite of whatever sort of person you are. You may have deficiencies. Every jiva has certain faults. So he says, I unconditionally love you in spite of your deficiencies. And moreover also, whether you love me or not is your problem, not mine. That is the difference in attitude. You know that begging bowl he throws away. And he is able to give unconditionally because why? Because he is no longer dependent for his happiness upon the love of the other person. If the other person loves him, he will definitely enjoy. But if he doesn't love him also, his attitude does not change. Why is this so? Because of the discovery of completeness, Purnatvam. He discovers that I am Ananda Swarupa. I am the very embodiment of love. So how does it make a difference whether somebody loves me or not? So that confused mind of the Ajnani, which was roaming around the whole world with a begging bowl, asking for love and affection, that mind is dropped. That struggling mind is gone. And that struggling mind turning towards everybody to get some love is called Shruti Vipratipanna. Totally deluded because of hearing various Shruti statements. So Shruti Vipratipanna is that mind which is confused because it has not understood the real meaning of all the Shruti statements. There are lots of Shruti statements in the ritualistic portion of the Vedas, Karma Kanda, which we call, or Purva Veda, which we call, which talk about lots of phalam, lots of material results arising out of various karma. Right? He does not understand that the purpose of the Shruti, the purpose of the Karma Kanda is not to encourage you to do karma to get karma phalam. So he understood the meaning incorrectly. What is the purpose of all the Shruti statements in Karma Kanda? Is it to give you phalam? Is it to give you material results? Or what is it?
Chitta Suddhi.
Chitta Shuddhi.
It is to enable you to use all that karma to come to Chitta Shuddhi. So this he has not understood. And therefore, instead of going to external sources, this person who has understood that, he decides that these external sources are no good to me. I will go to the real source, which is the internal source. And therefore he says, Yada Samadhau Sthasyati. So here, the word Samadhau is technical word. It means the Atma. Samadhi here means Atma. What type of Atma? The ever secure, ever pure, Purna Atma. The Atma with this Sat Chit Ananda. Right? So this Purnatvam of the Atma, what is the relationship between Purnatvam of Atma, that is the completeness, the infinite status of the Atma, and love, or what we call love? What is the relationship between Ananda and love?
Ananta.
No, what is the relationship?
Attachment is there. Purnatvam does not have attachment.
Well, I'll say that the expression of Purnatvam, is love. The expression which Purnatvam manages to find with the other person is love. So the fullness, the infinite status which is unconditional and non-dependent, independent of anything, which is the Atma. When that Atma expresses outside, that is what we call love. Have we ever experienced this Purnatvam? Has anybody ever experienced Purnatvam? We have. All of us have at some stage or the other. Like the most famous example is when you get a child. That feeling of fulfillment which you get, that is the expression of Purnatvam. When you get a promotion, when you win your first game, that feeling which is not possible for you to express, that feeling is called Purnatvam. Okay. So everybody has temporarily experienced Purnatvam. So when love flows, when compassion is there, all this is Purnatvam only. But what is the problem? This is all Agama Apainaha, coming and going. It is all limited by time. And therefore Krishna uses two words here, Achala, Nischala. So self-discovery or self-knowledge should be free from two obstacles. What are they? Doubts regarding my Purnatvam. Am I Purna Atma or not? That doubt you should not have. When your Shravanam and Maranam are complete, that doubt regarding Aham Purnaha Asti va Nasti, am I Purna or not? That should go. That doubt is called Samshayaha. And there is a second major obstacle. Even after you get knowledge, Viparyaya, the habitual notion that I want external factors to be happy. So this is not because you are not Purna, but it is a Vasana, it's a habitual notion. And it's a very strong notion. Like for example, cigarette smoking or drinking, all these are habitual notions. They are habits formed and they take time to break. But so this Jnani, he may be Param Brahma, but he still likes, this Jnani here is what? The person who has just Shravanam and Maranam, but not come to Nididhyasanam, he's a Jnani, right? But he still likes a cigarette once in a way. So infinite, depending upon this finite thing. Therefore, you have a notion that you cannot be Puranam without certain factors. And this is called Viparyaya. This habitual notion does not go away very easily. Even after Atmajnanam comes, that Vasana lingers. The Vasana stays. And these two are very powerful obstacles to assimilation of knowledge. And therefore, even after getting this knowledge, one should work to eliminate these obstacles. Viparyaya has to be eliminated. When a person has removed both these obstacles, Samshaya and Viparyaya. So Samshaya is addressed by which of the three processes of Jnanam?
Mananam.
Mananam. And Viparyaya is addressed by Nididhyasana. And therefore Krishna uses two words, Nischala and Achala. So Nischala here has to be understood as Samshaya Rahitaha. So Shankara says, Nischala Tishtati, Samshaya Rahitaha Tishtati. He remains, Tishtati, he remains Samshaya Rahitaha, without having any doubts about his Purnatvam status. That is Nischalaha. And Viparyaya Rahita Tishtati, remains without Viparyaya, without those habitual notions. That is Achala. So one who is Nischala and Achala, Krishna calls him in a later verse, Thita Prajnaha, the one who does not depend upon anyone excepting himself. And then alone, Tada Yogam Avapsyasi. And then alone, he gets yoga, which here yoga means moksha. A person gets freedom from begging, freedom from insecurity, he gets. And even though we may have a lot of money in the bank, we may be crorepattis, mentally and emotionally, we are bankrupt. So asking, I want more money, asking, I want this, I want that, I want a car, I want a plane, I want to have a good time, I want to go to the moon. As long as those desires keep troubling you, the amount of money you have, you are still very poor. When that dependence goes away, that is called moksha. So Krishna says, hey Arjuna, throw away that begging bowl of yours and become a jnani. After becoming jnani, do nidhi dhyasanam and get jnana nishtha. So with this, Krishna has concluded the essential portion of Gita teaching, consisting of karma yoga and jnana yoga. And now the teaching is over. And once the teaching is over, Krishna stops to ask Arjuna to ask any questions that he wants. Why? Because Vedanta is not believing what the teacher says. Vedanta never asks for blind belief. It is a matter of understanding. And once the question of understanding comes, doubt should not be there in the mind at all. And that is why in Vedanta, we always encourage raising of any questions. And therefore, Krishna stops to let Arjuna ask a question. And Arjuna finally comes up with another question, which we will see in the next class. With that, we will stop. You're open for questions.
Om Raviji, I have a question about the Purnatvam you were saying.
Yes, Bhagavan.
So that love that you experience that results from Purnatvam, can that also be, when you're learning the Shastras and then suddenly there's an insight and then you feel elevated, there's some kind of feeling that, the joy, and you have understood the teaching, or maybe you apply it into your own life and then you realize like an insight. So is that also called as Purnatvam?
No, either you are Purna or you are not. There is no, on the way to Purna. You may be studying. You are not Purna that time. So you may have flashes of affection and love and all that. Those are just the side effects of knowledge. When you're somewhere, you're seeing a glimpse of what is possible. But don't call it Purnatvam because it's not. Purna, it's like, either a glass is full or it is not. You can't say that it is full and yet not full.
But then when you said when a mother has her child.
That's only a glimpse. It's only a glimpse of what is the possibility. Arising, it's a reflected Ananda arising out of the birth of the child. Because there is no other, selfish objective. In those cases, the Ananda is not that Ananda is not there in you. You are Brahman, you are full of Ananda. That reflection of the Ananda is what is called very, with the examples referred to, mother-child love, promotion, all those things. It's a reflection of what is possible, but it comes and goes.
Okay.
So all these are given to you for a particular purpose, so that you know that something like this is possible permanently. And that is why you want to do it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Om Raviji. Om Raviji.
Yes, Sumana, tell me.
One is, I have two questions. One is the meaning of avaptyasi. I'm not clear. And if you could just give us the difference between Shamshaya and Viparya in short again.
Avapsyasi means you attain, you get. So he gets back to that. Yeah. And Samshaya is doubts. Viparya is not doubts. Viparya is after your doubts have been cleared also. Like you might be a jnani. See, normally jnani means, samshaya ajnana rahitaha, which means without ignorance, which is jnani. So ignorance is removed by shravanam. And after shravanam, you may have a doubt, like, okay, I am Atma. So which means I am supposed to be infinite. What is the doubt? How can I be infinite? I have these problems every day. I get thirsty, I get moody, I get angry. How can I be jnani? How can I be Atma? So it's not that you don't know that the knowledge is there. Shastram has told you you are Atma. That is jnanam. The knowledge is there, but doubt is there. How can I be Atma? That is samshaya. So that samshaya is removed by mananam. Ignorance of the fact that you are Atma is removed by shravanam. When you are sure of yourself 100% that yes, I am Atma, then shravanam and mananam are over. Even then, you may have some what they call, what vasanas, habitual thinking patterns. So I can give you an example. Supposing you have been having one car for say 20 years, okay, and you are used to hanging the key of the car in the front room somewhere, or in a drawer in the front room, okay. Now one day you sell the car, okay. Now, so you have sold the car, you got the money. Do you have knowledge of the fact that you sold the car?
Yes.
Are you doubtless knowledge that you sold the car?
Yes.
And yet next morning when you get up, you head straight for the drawer.
Yeah. Okay.
That is vipariyaya, habitual thinking pattern. It is only when you open the drawer that you realize, oh, I don't have the car anymore. But you have done the action of heading for the. So that similar analogy can be applied. Your reactions are basically from your subconscious. And this is a subconscious reaction. That is vipariyaya. Yes, Lataji, tell me.
So just to follow up question on that same thing, actually, Raviji, you might end up getting some kind of dreams or nightmares, okay, of some fear. And once you wake up, you notice that that was so unreal. But throughout the day, you keep thinking about that. So even that accounts for vipariyaya?
No, that is just because you have not very clearly understood the difference between dreams and waking state, and also because you are giving undue importance to something which is not there. Dream is mithya. It's pratibhasika satyam, a different level of reality.
Okay.
And people, of course, talk about dreams being portents and all that. You should not. You should get all these things out of your head. Dream is a dream. It is real for the dreamer, not for the waker.
Okay. Thank you.
So, can I ask?
Yes, please, go ahead.
So, how is samshaya, nischala, and viparaya achala?
That is a definition given by Shankara, so we accept it.
Okay.
There are two words meaning the same thing, nischala and achala.
Okay.
So Shankara doesn't want to give the same meaning to both the words, so he says this has to be distinguished this way.
Okay. Thank you.
So that is to remove the punarukti dosha.
That is to remove punarukti dosha, exactly.
So is this purnatva because of fulfillment of some deep desire or some goal has been met in our life? Is that purnatva?
Nope,
one milestone has been achieved.
That is not purnatam at all. Purnatam is the freedom from the desire to achieve milestones. Big difference.
Raviji, one more question. So once you become sthita prajna, so that really helps in achieving purnatvam also.
No, sthita prajna means you are purna. There is no.
Okay. So
after
it's
that,
that.
there's nothing
Okay.
more. Yeah, the same word. Sthita prajna is another name for jnana nishtha, which is another name for a purna, person who is full. Jivan muktaha basically is called sthita prajna. It's called purnaha. All these are names, different names for jivan muktas.
Jivan mukti. Okay, thank you.
Charity, I have still not understood the difference between Nischala and Achala. They both mean the same. How are they different?
Technically, they mean the same, but the explanation I gave you is, see, there's something called a punarukti dosha, which means repetition. Shastram is not, you cannot attribute the defect of repetition to Shastram. The same idea cannot be repeated twice, and therefore, to remove from this verse the allegation that Krishna is guilty of that two words meaning the same thing, Shankara says they have to mean different things, and that is why he gives this particular meaning, which makes sense because you cannot say that the Lord was guilty of repetition.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so with this we'll stop. Thank you for your patience. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat. Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you for your patience. Have a great weekend, guys.
Thank you, Ravi.
Thank you so much.
So much.